Welcome. I'm April Davila, founder of Sit Right Here, and this is First Page Fridays, where we look at first pages the way that agents do, so that we can learn not only what works, but why it works. These pages are submitted anonymously by viewers, so thank you to the writer who sent in their first page, and it's intended to create a safe space for us all to learn as we go about our writing. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to just read it through once. I haven't even looked at it yet, so first thing is to get used to what is happening on the page. Then we'll jump back up at the top, start editing through, and I will kind of narrate my thoughts as we go. So let's jump into it here. I move myself down, and we've got a little hint here of opening. This is the opening to a historical novel based on a real 12th century man who led an astonishing life. Okay, so a little bit of framing. The crow glided to the forest floor and stalked up to its fellows on the corpse. They feasted on eyes, cheeks, lips, until the cracking of undergrowth sent the birds upwards in a cawing clap of wings. They settled in the treetops and observed. Two men entered the glade. "We found him," the first one said. They stood silent until a third man lumbered through the twigs, wiping his face. He held back the boy who followed. "Go," he said. "We'll bring your father home." That's how I picture it. Ghosts of smoke rising from the abandoned charcoal kiln. The cooking pot is cold on the ashes of a fire. Sometimes, though, a deer jinks away through the trees, or my mother is there weeping. And I am the boy, even though I'd been too young to join the search. Until that destruction of my childhood, my ordinary life with my parents and younger sister was in Waldeham, 8 thatched wooden homes in a forest clearing by a small river that wound through shallows. Beyond the barley field and sheep meadow, the great forest covered the land. Children were forbidden to enter for fear of evil spirits and roaming wild men waiting to pass. When I talked to him, I scratched his back. He liked that. He didn't know that death awaited him when the days grew short. But do any of us know our end? Okay, so we've got an interesting setting. I think one of the things to note is that when people pick up a book, they will have a sense of what it is. But even if you were to say at the top of a chapter, like 12th century, and this is kind of reading as England to me. I don't 12th century England, you still want those details to come through in the pages, right? And I think it does to a certain extent. We definitely get the sense of this being period, definitely before to the forest floor. And I will note, as I always do, that I am not a copy editor. I'm a line and story editor. Glided is an awkward word. Personally, I'm like, okay, technically it's past tense of glide, but it's a weird word. I wouldn't want to open my story with it. The crow glided to the forest floor and stalked up to its fellows on the corpse. I kind of like the phrasing of that. We get us right into since we know this is a man, because we learn later that it was this guy's father, so they feasted on the man. Go ahead and tell us. They feasted on the man's eyes, cheeks, lips. And again, grammatic. This might be an art. When you're in the first sentence, paragraph, page of your novel, clarity lips until the cracking of undergrowth sent the birds upwards into a clawing clap of wings. It's really visual. Again, is there a better word? The crow descended. I'm gonna put I don't know. We'll leave glided. It's a choice. Okay. Two men entered the glade hunting for somebody. Would they say, "We found him," or would they be like, "Oh, there he is"? Or would they just simply when it comes to dialogue, I'm a big fan of like less is more. Two men entered the glade. They stood silent, and I would say they stood silently over they stood silently until a third man, and I would say over the corpse. He held back the boy who followed. Go, he said, we'll bring your father home. Okay, so then we have this kind of odd POV switch. So when our narrator, which we now know is the kind of a whole perspective shift on the story. If you're going to, so this is how the boy, who may or may not still be a boy, pictured friends, family, community, whatever, finding the body of his father. So this is such a great scene. And then from here on out, we don't really have things that sometimes happen in this person's life. And then again, kind of like talking about the destruction. And it's not even, we actually get a little bit of scene here. When I talked to him and scratched his back, he liked it. So then we have this little hint of maybe dropping into a scene, but not really, which for this story seems appropriate. This is really like its own little mini scene. And then more people enter and the scene shifts, because originally the scene is crows picking at a corpse. And then the scene becomes the corpse being discovered by men. And then it kind of just much more compelling if we actually get to see it. He held back the boy. Well, okay, so, and then also there's this, this is first person and this is more like an omniscient third. Ahead of me entered the glade and stood silently. But then, again, you wouldn't really see this if you're using a first person narrative. So as much as I like this, the imagery and the entry into the story, I kind of feel like you're starting in the wrong place. If it's first person, start it in first person, and so from here, had paused and cursed, and a flock of crows took flight and landed in the trees above us. As I got closer, I saw the pecked out eyes of my father, and great place to name someone, so-and-so tried to hold me back from seeing a man, because they call him a boy here, being in the search party that finds his father's body. That's compelling. But we lose all of that power when we jump away. So that's how I pictured it. So that's how I pictured it, means he wasn't even there. He's just then, like, say, after they have discovered that, so you could still have it play out like this. Like the boy starts crying or screaming or yelling or whatever, or maybe he tries to run to his father and family friend holds him back and says, go home. And opportunity here, go home to your mother, boy. We'll bring him home for you. And then have him walk home with this weight of like, oh my God, dad is dead, and have him see, like, as I came over the rise and the cooking pot is cold on the ashes of the fire, but keep it specific. Don't do sometimes. Don't do cold on the ashes of the fire. You're in present tense, so I'm trying to keep it there. I thought about making stew more generalizes. Oh, mother is there. Sorry. My mother is there weeping. Okay, so mom is there. Maybe this person could still have the thought of like, I thought maybe I put something on, but I didn't have the energy. I sat by my mom and we cried together. Things like the point of view. Okay, so until that destruction of my childhood, my ordinary life with my parents, and okay, so there's also a younger sister, that's right. 8 thatched wood. So this would be one of those things of like, as he comes back over the hill, he sees, I see the 8 thatched wooden home. Ways to hint at like who, aside from being a young boy, are there ways that you can kind of start to clue us into what kind of boy it is? I mean, by his reaction to his father's dead body, we'll learn a lot. Is he more of a timid boy? Is he afraid of the body? Or is he like go immediately to anger? Is he more of a fighter, right? You can already start to tell us about him when he comes into the house, like, and avoid all of this like general description, because you'll have time for plenty of that later. Stay in scene. And I would say, actually, if you're really doing it justice, the scene of finding his father should take up the whole first page. I mean, we're talking 250 words. It's not that long. And you might be able to reflect on like the last time you saw him, how long has it been, the publication, which is my coaching program, of like, how do we lead people into a story in a way that really lands and draws them in? And generally it's starting with scene. And I think my advice on this one, I'm not even gonna edit all of this because all of this should come later. All the general stuff should be given in specific scenes later. I would challenge a couple of older adults finding his father's corpse and make it 250 words long before he gets the juicy details that you can include, the hints at who this person is. And I think this is a really engaging way to start a story. You just need to give it a little bit more time. And if this wasn't your page and you would like to submit your page to have it edited, there's a link in the show notes for you to do that. You can check that out. And if you're thinking, wow, I would love to learn to be able to do this for my own work. So if that's something that's appealing to you, please reach out, let us know, and we can talk to you more about it. All right, I'll see you next time, writers. Happy writing.